Hi and welcome to Old Time Knowledge. Well, in this video I'm going to be making lemon chicken piccata. I love this recipe so much, y'all. Oh my goodness, I love this recipe. This tastes like something from a restaurant, but it is very easy to make. I basically use one pan and one pot to cook this, and I'm just telling you, it's so easy. I'm going to have all the ingredients ready. I don't want you to have to sit and watch me to get capers out of a jar and drain them and garlic and all that kind of stuff. So stick with me and we'll get right to it. Okay, so first thing, I've got about a pound of diced chicken breast here. You can do more chicken if you want. This is just how much I have. I pulled it out of the freezer earlier and I've thawed it out. I've got a half a cup of flour in the bowl there, to which I added about a little over a quarter of a teaspoon of salt. Once you cook the chicken, you can also taste a piece, and if you want to add more salt, you certainly can. Okay, first thing, I'm going to go ahead and get my burner turned on with my skillet here to about medium, well, between medium and medium high. And I'm going to add some olive oil to this skillet because the first thing we're going to do is cook this chicken. I should also mention that I have the oven preheated to about 190 degrees. 180 degrees, and I'm just going to leave it there because the point is to have the oven nice and hot, but not so hot that it's cooking things. It basically is a warmer. It keeps the chicken warm while I do everything else to get the pasta ready and get the sauce ready. So that's it. You just want to put your oven on like 180 or 190 or even 200, but I definitely would not go above 200. Okay, while I'm waiting for the pan to get hot, I'm going to show you the different ingredients that this uses. So this is going to use about a clove of minced garlic, or I use about a heaping teaspoon of minced garlic from a jar, 2 tablespoons of capers that have been drained, and that's what I have here. These are kind of a pain to get out of the jar, but that's why I went ahead and did them like this. And in fact, if you've not bought capers before, this is what they look like. They just come in a tall, skinny jar. They're usually in the same section as olives and things like that. You're just going to use like a little spoon or something to get some out of the jar and make sure the liquid's drained off, because you just want just the capers, but we're putting all of that aside. Okay, we got lemon juice. That's another ingredient. Chicken bouillon. You can use chicken broth, like if you buy chicken broth, but I never buy chicken broth. So I just have some of that. And then also butter. Gotta have some butter, and I'll get to that and explain that later as well. Okay, now I'm waiting for the pan to get hot. As I mentioned, this is the half a cup of flour. I put about a quarter of a teaspoon of salt in, but I also usually will salt the chicken when it's done frying. You can add, as much as you want to the flour, or you don't have to add any. You can salt the chicken before you coat it in the flour, however you want. The point is, you want your chicken seasoned. And a good place to start when it comes to the flour is putting in about a quarter of a cup. So I'm just getting the chicken pieces that I already had cut up in this bag. And y'all, when I am freezing chicken breasts, a lot of times I will go ahead and do some chicken breasts and just dice them up like this, so that way it's just easy meal prep. When I take it out of the freezer, it's already diced up, so then it's just a matter of thawing it out for whatever I'm going to be cooking for supper. I do prefer to use food saver bags, but this one, for whatever reason, I didn't have in a food saver bag. And so I'm just going to coat these lightly in the flour. They don't have to be thickly breaded or anything. And then get them in the pan and get them to start cooking. And I only have about 2 tablespoons of olive oil in this pan, no more than that. And while I'm cooking this chicken, I might add a little bit more olive oil because sometimes it will have soaked up enough that I might need to add a little bit more, especially once I put the second batch of chicken in, just to make sure there's enough oil in the pan. But you're not trying to like deep fry this or anything, so about that much. One thing I want to mention while I'm working with this here, since I did mention it was frozen chicken, is I also can a lot of chicken, and you might have seen videos about that. I know this isn't a casserole, but I just want to mention this. If you've ever tried to use canned chicken for casseroles, unless it's meant to have shredded chicken, it's just not a great idea. I really think that there is something to be said for sauteed chicken or breaded and fried chicken. It just cannot be duplicated. Like, you cannot create sauteed chicken texture and flavor from chicken that you canned. I'm just telling you that I've learned it the hard way. I've tried to use, for instance, cubed chicken that I had pre-cooked before I canned it to see if that might help, because it does keep its shape a little better, but the texture's just wrong. The texture's just, it's a little too dry, and it's just got a different, it's just different, y'all. It's just different. So anyway, I'm going to continue to keep chicken in my pantry in jars for soups and stews and chicken and pastry and anything that uses shredded chicken. And I'm going to continue keeping frozen chicken in my freezer. And God willing, we'll always have electricity and refrigerators. And even if we lose it for a short time, hopefully we won't have to go back to the days before refrigeration, because I do love having a freezer stocked with meats and poultry and all of that good stuff. So I'm just going to continue dusting this chicken in flour and get it cooked. Okay, you can probably see by now that this chicken is starting to brown a little bit on the bottom, so I'm turning the pieces over. And you're just wanting to this is basically just sauteing them in olive oil, cooking them until they're all the way done. Ideally, you want to let each side get, cooked enough that they're easy to turn. If they're sticking to the pan a whole lot, then that means they haven't. That means that they haven't cooked enough on one side yet. But at the same time, it is inevitable that you're going to have some flour and stuff in the bottom of the pan, and that's okay. It's supposed to be there because the flour and I guess they call it the fond. I don't know how they say it. But when you're done cooking all of the chicken, that's what you use to create the sauce for the chicken piccata. So I'm just going to keep cooking this chicken, and I'll speed things up on this part and bring you back when it's time to move to the next step. Okay, I've checked for the doneness of this chicken, and this is done, so I'm putting it on the plate, and I'm going to get it in the oven to keep it warm. I'm going to add more chicken to my pan and cook it, and it's actually going to need just a tiny bit more oil because I see that part of my pan is just a little bit dry. I'm also going to be getting a pot of water on to boil. I will be adding some salt to the water and some olive oil, just like you saw me add a little bit more oil to the pan there. And so let me get that water on. There we go. And I've added, like I say, some salt and some olive oil. I like to salt my water before I cook my pasta. That's the only way to do it as far as I'm concerned. So hang tight while I finish getting this chicken cooked and get the pasta started. And in case you're wondering, I'm using tongs here because the plate is already in the oven, and using a fork, I would surely drop half of the chicken on the floor or in the oven. So tongs is the easiest way to do it, so I can just leave the chicken staying warm in the oven. All right, so this is the garlic. It's, like I said, a teaspoon of garlic, or like a clove of minced garlic. I've put this in the pan, which I've turned down to a little above low, just to get the garlic good and fragrant. I am going ahead and adding a cup of water to my pan so that I can add in some of the bouillon, or the chicken broth base, I guess is what it's called. And this one calls for 2 teaspoons per cup, so that's what I'm doing. And I'm just going to get that mixed in really good. And that fork is great for breaking up any of the flour and things like that stuck to the bottom of the pan while it was cooking. And that's really all that I'm not adding more flour to this. You certainly can if you want to. If you do this the first time and you wind up with way too much oil left in your pan, you might want to get some out. If you have to get it out, you're going to obviously need a little bit of flour in there, not too much. So here's the angel hair pasta. The water's ready, so I'm just going to go ahead and add this, and this cooks super fast. So at this point, everything comes together really, really quick. So I'm just going to let the pasta do its thing. And this garlic and broth and the little tiny bit of olive oil that was left in the pan and the little bits of flour, I'm just going to let all of this just cook until it starts to thicken up. And once it starts to thicken up, that's when I'll start adding the other ingredients. that pasta is getting close to being done. I'm going to be testing it here shortly. And I can already see that sauce is starting to, see how it's bubbling there, the sauce and the pasta. Let's see. Is the pasta ready? Not quite. Okay. So, but the sauce, I can tell, is starting to just get just a little bit thicker. And I need to wait until it starts to thicken up a little bit. This sauce is more almost like a glaze than it is like, it's not really like a gravy. It is more kind of like a glaze. So just waiting here. All right. Looks like it's time to add in the lemon juice. See how it's thickened up. It's not quite as runny. So I'm adding 1/4 cup of lemon juice to this. And I'm going to stir that around and keep mixing that. This smells so good, y'all, with the garlic and the lemon. And the pasta is definitely ready. I'm going to go ahead and drain it. And once I've done that, I'll just put it back in the pan and let it just rest there until it's time to serve everything up. So you see that sauce just bubbling away. That's exactly the way we want it. And soon I'm going to be adding the butter. It'll get 3 tablespoons of butter. It doesn't matter if it's softened or not because it's going to melt in the pan. And this just creates a just gorgeous, thick, I cannot tell you how good this is, y'all. It's making my mouth water again just looking at this video as I get it ready for you. And now I'm adding in the 2 tablespoons of capers and stirring it around and it's just heating everything through at this point. So now I need to get the pasta sauce ready because the chicken's hanging out in the oven staying warm. The pasta's ready. The sauce is sort of bubbling a little bit and I'm going to soon put that on low. One thing that's happening off camera here is I have put my favorite pasta sauce in a bowl and it's heating up in my microwave. And I don't even use a whole jar. I just use like half a jar. And I love, for instance, the Bertolli garlic and olive oil. But any pasta sauce you like is fine. Of like marinara sauce or something like that. But I have, like I say, there's the bowl. It's heated up. I've just pulled it out of my microwave. And here's the plate of chicken that I've gotten out of my oven. I've given it a taste. It needs a little bit more salt, as it always does, so I'm adding that in. Now I'm just going to fix up a plate because this is ready. I'm not going to taste test this on camera because, well, frankly, it's just really messy the way I eat it and the way my son eats it. I really like to just sort of mix everything together once I've got it on my plate. But the way to serve it is like this. You put a little bit of pasta on the side of the plate, put some sauce on top of that. When I say sauce, in this case, I mean like your tomato sauce. So this will be the garlic and olive oil sauce that I told you about. So I'm just going to get a little bit of that and just put some on some of the pasta there. Sorry, it's out of the frame. I couldn't tell what I was recording at this point because I thought I had the camera pointed at everything. But you know how it works when you put pasta sauce on pasta. So now I'm going to get some of the chicken and get it on the plate. And you'll see how I'll do this. I'm just going to get a good portion of chicken. This is just enough for my son and I. This is perfect. And then I need to get a little spoon to get some of that delicious lemon sauce on the chicken. And this is what makes it chicken piccata. Oh my goodness, y'all. This is so, so good. And you know, you can get some capers in there. If you don't like capers, leave them out. But that is part of this dish. And if you can't find capers, don't let it stress you out because the flavor of the sauce is the lemon flavor first and foremost. The capers just adds to it. But if you don't have capers or you have a hard time finding them or you're skeptical about them, you don't have to use the capers. But look at that. That's exactly how it looks and it is so good. And this is just one of the best dishes ever. I hope you will try this. I hope you will let me know what you think in the comments below. We love this so much, and we almost never have leftovers of this. And you can certainly make more chicken. You can double amounts if you need to, but by all means make this. You're going to feel like you're in a fancy restaurant because this is delicious. I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.